went ahead and picked up the bolt and ended up going that way, ended up securing the kill. But Wolf, we're going to be taking a look at our next map battleground that we're going to be going to here as we see after Tomb of the Spider Queen, game number 2, we're heading to another map that looks a little bit purple here, Cursed Hollow.
All right, Cursed Hollow,
Great description, by the way. It's purple.
It's purple indeed, and Tempest has been showing this proclivity to be grabbing the macro maps a little bit more than the other Korean teams, which is a little bit odd to me because I feel like that's always been the strength of Korea versus the other regions. The team fighting the mechanics, sure, you can make those arguments, but understanding the maps had always been advantage Korea usually. And so it's going to be Tempest that picks this map. We're going into it. And we've seen H82 be the strong solo laner. He's made massive improvements since his time on Raven. At the beginning of 2017, he was the laughingstock of the Korean community. How many times does he die in the top lane? How many times does he overextend? A player since the early parts of 2016, now at his first international event, he, with his strong solo laning presence, allows the map to be opened up for macro plays. And I like this choice for Tempest quite a bit.
Well, I want to see, we've seen, dare I say, lackluster Dahaka performances a little bit, but it's not just because they're playing it bad, it's just compositionally it hasn't been max value. Now, we've seen a lot of it on Cursed Hollow, a lot around the world, but we also have to keep in mind that Illidan has been very prominent through the first part, fell off a little bit because Illidan results were a little bit slim, but locking in a first pick Tassadar gives you the flexibility to go into a potential Tracer Illidan for the next part of this draft.
Oh man, Rhaegar is flying up to the top of Korean priority lists here. We see Dahaka is also taken. So remember, Tempest map pick. They want to go the global route right off the bat. And with a Tassadar, it always screams SC Vala to you, but not in this meta, not when Ariel's not available. I think leading towards the Illidan path, as you were saying, Jayhao, is probably the way L5 is going to approach this.
That's why you see that Rhaegar get picked up here instead. Tassadar, Rhaegar, Illidan on Cursed Hollow is actually pretty darn scary. Yeah. But the thing is there's Tassadar Uther here. Granted, Uther a little bit on the slower movement, and you can actually move in and get an engage on him, but still, you can't forget about what he brings to the table. Obviously, his level 7 talents, the Divine Shield being available, also level 16 Benediction. Those are great here. We'll see what L5 wants to move into. I think right now they're thinking, do we want to go into the Illidan, or do we want to grab the Tracer, as you were mentioning? But
I think the thing about being in this position is that they can only ban out one hero from this point on, unless you're worried about Tempest picking up Illidan. You pick it up now. Yeah. They go ahead and pick it up. They have the dive buddy of Tyrael to put down that sanctification. I tell you what, we've seen a lot of isolation pickups at level 10 for Dahaka, and I think that is one of the key things that you'll have to keep an eye on. They went ahead, they still banned the Tracer, but I feel like this has to be an Arthas ban if you're on the side of L5.
I think it definitely has to be the Arthas ban. They take away the ETC. They're so scared of signs. Anti-dive. There's two different ways to anti-dive, right? The Arthas is the slows. The Howling Blast might hit, but it's really just the slows that make the Illidan or the Greymane that are coming in really struggle to actually get those follow-up kills, get those picks. We saw go for the throat even last game on the side of Greymane. But in similar fashion, you know, ETC and just get the stuns, get the immediate face melts where it's like, okay, you're not only are you stunned, but you're way on the wrong side of the team fight now to where you wanted to be. So I like the ETC ban. It shows a lot of respect for what we saw in the last game from Sign.
Yeah, from Tempest on their side, I actually wouldn't mind seeing the Arthas, as you mentioned, into the Greymane. I feel like that'd be perfect for them. Great setup for them already. You have the, but I would prefer to see Cursed Bullet actually instead of the go for the throat. We're getting that a lot this entire tournament, but having that drag into a Cursed Bullet can give you that quick burst that Tyrael might not have a good chance of actually responding to.
And I think the fact, I mean, we might even just see a fallback to a Murden. Murden is another good option to counter the Illidan. You get that slow, and it's something that we know sign.
Yeah.
They do go into the Murden. I'm actually a little bit surprised at the Falstad, specifically just because of Illidan. Illidan gets on Falstad, and Falstad has a bad time. And depending on what level 4 talent you pick up, I mean, Hammer Gains is good if you're solo laner, but you've got Dahaka. And if you get caught out in that solo lane, you don't go into that static shield to give you that. It's really hard to stutter step when an Illidan's on top of you. So you kind of have like this backup form of protection, but Falstad is very susceptible. It's something we know that Tempest loves to play, but I'm just a little bit surprised, not completely surprised that they picked it up here.
A risk, but you have double global here now. If Illidan ever is overstepping, you can at least have that rotation onto that top lane and go for the double 2-on-1 and go for the fight and take him out.
I think you do kind of lane swap into the Illidan, you 2v1 him, and then you get the extra global elsewhere, whether it's the Falstad or very likely to be the Dahaka in this case. So L5 kind of finds himself in this awkward position too, where they now have to pick the Uther that other regions are highly valuing, but the Koreans are saying his cooldowns are too long. Sure, he gives the armor, but it's not long sustained healing. They grab the range DPS here for Vala, so it's going to be Illidan for global alone, and the protection for team fights is always going to be onto the Vala. But this is what I was afraid of, the dreaded Cassia pick. When you ban the ETC and you see this comp coming in a little bit later for Tempest, it's hard to predict this. Now, Cassia kind of deals with both the Vala and the Illidan in the team fights. You have the Dahaka and the Falstad and the lane swapping you were talking about, Trick, to deal with the solo Illidan. I'm not sure if this is going to be a win here in terms of drafting for L5.
Yeah, typically when you're playing against a Cassia comp, you want to be able to out-rotate the map, and they have the Illidan, but the problem is the Dahaka Falstad. This draft is actually very clever from Tempest. I really like what they're bringing out.
And, you know, I talk about this so much because I love macro play. I study it a lot. Sometimes having double global, if you don't play it appropriately, will come back to bite you because you give up a little bit. Anytime you get something like that, Falstad's not the strongest team fighter. He has the great disengage, the gust, things like that, but we'll cover more of that as we are heading into game number 2. Wolf, Tempest has a 1-0 lead here versus L5 in the winners bracket finals.
Yep. L5 will be spawning on red side, of course, here to the right side of the map. Down 0-1. Their first loss of the tournament was on Tomb to this team in blue, Tempest. And they're on their map pick. It is Lockdown on the Stormlord Falstad skin, my personal favorite. And look, Lockdown has been hailed as one of the best Falstad players in the world. Back in the 2016 Summer Finals, he was the one interviewed on the desk. He said, "In my Falstad, I think it's only okay," but results showed otherwise. And as Falstad dropped out of the meta in Korea quite significantly, it was really only Sake and Quagnix Koreans were saying we're playing them well. We'll see what he can accomplish here now with the double global. And already SDE expects the lane swap here to do the 2v1 against Illidan, not to solo lane against him in the early game with the double global. So they do at least have that protection, and it's actually going to be Tastar who solo lanes up here as Jungha looks for the aggression onto Lockdown and doesn't have that static shield just yet, Jay-How.
Not just yet, but they do have somebody called Sign that can come in and give you that support as Murd and get that slowdown, get that stun if needed. But, you know, I look at this draft from L5, and this is just L5 in a nutshell. SC on Vala feels natural, Swoy on whatever is, you know, the support of the day. You've got Jungha on Illidan. I mean, this is just what we know they play. But I tell you what, you can't step out that far against this team.
Definitely not. Not expecting Lockdown to be in position here. They were going to try to trade this, though. Will it end up being a 2v1? Can he get the tongue grab here? He needs it. And it's just out of range. The Uther there makes it a 1-for-1 because of the ghost heals there, not respecting that. So could have been worse for L5 for sure, as they actually get the lead in this top lane as well. Let's point out one thing to start things off is the
wingman.
The wingman up here, the bribe stacks essentially for Falstad at level 1. So not what you expect to see. You normally would see seasoned marksman. And it's not like they're up against blinds either. He just wants to have more Merc control here because they don't have the fastest clears with this composition. Sure, they have Rhaegar, and he will probably solo camp at 2 minutes, but L5 is winning these lanes right now, and that bribe stack, that it's essentially bribe stack, so we'll give them extra mercenaries. It's going to be so valuable for them when they start to lose these lanes like this.
On the same vein, on the other side, Illidan not going Immolation, instead going Battered Assault, looking to get more of that healing when he hits multiple heroes at a time. Generally, we'll see Jungha kind of go off, get that siege camp, which he's headed to now. The Immolation helps a little bit clear. It helps a little bit more with the wave clear, but he's looking at team fight. He knows that the minute those blinds go down, he needs to get in there and get as much valuable healing as he can. So I like the adaptation here based on the draft.
Yeah, so look at this. This is very Korean, right? Dead at 2 minutes when the camps spawn. We're going to see both teams clear them. It's going to be the clearing hero that's sent away. Obviously, there are trade-offs to that. Illidan not having the lane pressure, Rhaegar not being there, so no heals on the side of Tempest. But we are going to see these camps taken at identical timings. And this is the first aspect of this map that gets a little bit RNG. Where will the tribute spawn? Because that is going to empower one team's siege giant camp, will force the other one to react. Either way, though, advantage Tempest. Illidan doesn't have to hunt yet, and they have 2 global heroes. So no matter where the tribute is, it's advantage Tempest. Unfortunately for them, it's right where both of their globals are.
It does make it a little bit tricky. That's the problem when I say that using double global, yes, they needed to commit to save that fort, but at the same time you go, and you talked about that RNG, it's a 50-50 chance. It's top middle or top bottom, and as you said, right next to the global. So we're going to have ourselves potential 4-on-4 here as Cassie and Tacit are stuck in the top lane.
Yeah, and without those blinds, it's actually a big loss here, a lot of the damage loss. But look at this, pulled right into the blue side fort here. Tempest grabbing Hooligan. Sign is going to just walk away, get that trait value, as you were calling it earlier, to just heal up with that second win. The curse area here is controlled by L5, but I don't think they're going to be able to channel for this now. Sign's healed up pretty significantly. He wants to go in for the dive, but Swoy with the stun. Still, the Stormbolt connects.
There was almost no pixel left on that charge there. They're unable to capture that, so I think they're going to have to drop back. And you look at the mini-map.
Yeah, look
Cassia positioned very far forward, pushing with those siege camps this entire time.
Yeah, they didn't get the global extra push, but they still got extra push because what we were talking about earlier, hold that thought, looks like Swoy might get caught here. He is going to be caught and blown up second time this game. But we talked about how the global advantage is going to be there if you get the tribute on the opposite side of your globals. But more important oftentimes is if you're on the opposite side of the mercenary camp. And sure, Honkono will likely get body blocked here and taken out, but he's still got so much damage done. He got the extra soak there. They got the tribute as well. And had he gotten away there, could have been an amazing position as they would have gotten the extra soak here now in top lane. But again, advantage to Tempest in terms of soak right now.
Well, you've got advantage, and one of those is that double global. They send to Haka, and they send Falstad up. They're like, you're going to pick on our team. We're going to pick on you back. No bullies allowed in this lane because Tempest using those globals pretty effectively. Wolf, we're looking at 4 kills to 2 now.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny because both teams, a little bit of lack of respect there. It was the overextension from Cassia there that didn't respect the rotation coming up from the Illidan. And then, you know, it was Jungha trying to say, well, let's see how much structural damage we can get done back to them, not respecting the globals. But while they did this, while they did rotate up, they lost the bot fort. So structurally now, we're even in terms of forts. And Honkono will yet again be picked here. That trade is not going to save him against the Psystorm damage.
The Psystorm and those grenades, man, she's got all the physical armor in the world when you're moving, but you can't really block that spell damage. And Wolf, I want to talk about this because we see Wingman at level 1 and moving into that static charge, that static build, that lightning build for Falstad at both 4 and 7. Full committal to that Wingman to get that extra value there.
Yeah, he just wants to make sure that you know, he can deal with the Illidan when he's straight up in his face. This build actually works with that really well. Hyde needs a Q. Don't know if he has one. Looks like he's going to get over the wall just regardless. A heavy commitment here to rotation for L5. They want this tribute real bad. They don't want to make sure they're not on curse point. If they have this, they'll have 10. They could try to contest the boss. They're going to have so much boss control with that sanctification, with the heroic advantage. So another great Stormbolt over the wall here from Sign. Will Lockdown be able to get the deny here? He's already used his lightning. Does get it here once over the wall, and Dahaka is going for that split soak. So L5 forced them to all rotate down here. They lost some global value, but now Dahaka is getting that top experience.
This is always a moment where I love to see what teams do, because the first 3 tributes, you get them in sets of 3. It's been in the bottom middle and the bottom left, which means it's guaranteed to be the top right on the side of L5. You have the boss, you have double global. Where do you begin to set things up if you're Tempest? Using that double global, do you try and make a play on the boss? We see Tyrael rotating down on the minimap. He's trying to keep an eye on things. Actually, he's just going to walk right past it. His sign's already triggered it. But the fact that you make these plays, you have the global, things like that are what shows that you are in control of those games. I'll tell you what, it took a minute to lock in Avatar. I was like, are we going to see another Haymaker?
I was hoping, I was worried that we were not, but we might see isolation here again to deal with the Illidan, or also even the Vala, depending on the situation where they dive in. But we saw the potential commitment there to the boss. L5 didn't take the bait, scouted out, Tempest backs away. I actually like this a lot. They could have tried to go all in on it, but again, with Sanctification available and so many time-buying tools and the hunt for global ability now for L5, taking that boss was a risk that Tempest just didn't need to take. It was never going to be extra value. It was never going to be worth. So, again, they just clear the waves as we head to this next tribute, which will guarantee Curse Point.
Guaranteed curse point. All right, we finally locked in Sanctification. We finally locked in Divine Shield, getting that protection. And SC very deep there, and Sign putting it on, but all of a sudden Zhang Ha is coming in, and we see the Gust as well.
Okay, Hyde's going to be the first one to go cleanse his health. The Divine Shield here used very well onto SC. They're trying to burst him down, but the CC is there. SC living so long here. Uther giving the extra heals here. So many resources committed to SC, and he just will not die. Zhang doing so much damage as well, but the sustain is coming out from Sign. He's going to get the pick, and in this long extended fight here, it looks like Tempest might have the upper hand. Second win procs for just a moment. There's the kill onto Zhang, and Hooligan is going to be the last man standing.
It is a bloodbath. 4 members down on the side of L5, 2 on the side of Tempest, and that could have gone either way there, Wolf, as they are going to hold on grabbing this tribute just yet. H82, low health, low mana. He's got that global to get back. but Hooligan does have that Eldruins.
This is advantage L5 in Tribute spawn. As you said, we knew it was going to be top right here, and L5 just has to have this. There's no way that Tempest can deny. They are rotating in. This is very risky. Already advantage of positioning here for L5. SC is respawned. He has Strafe available. Feels like Tempest should just let this go. Sign wants to come in, and otherwise, they've already lost it here. And Sign, he doesn't have that avatar. This could be several picks now. Lockdown trying for the gust for the disengage, but Sign is so incredibly low. Here comes Jongha for the hunt.
Jongha goes in, but we see Tyrael go down in return. SE continuing to put the pressure on, unable to get the kill. You see H82 eating a lot of damage. But I'll tell you what, man, they're putting the pressure on both these teams. It looks like the nerves are out of the way after game one. Both of them willing to throw down.
I mean, we saw the idea here for Tempest is this was planned out several moments in advance. This was not a on-the-fly gust, no pun intended. He flew in knowing that he was going to get the angle for the disengage. They were going to try to turn it on whichever member got caught. They forgot about the hunt. They forgot that the hunt was going to fly in there to secure the kill regardless. They didn't respect that. They're at least going to trade a boss here, but we probably should have seen Tempest realize earlier on this was going to be an L5 tribute. They had the spawn advantage. They had the heroic advantage. It was on red side. Maybe they could have delayed a little bit longer using Falstad, using a gust to get the faster boss to try to double boss, but now we're in a situation where this is advantage L5. Another red side tribute, boss versus boss, but the tribute for L5 is Curse Point. With this win, the boss gets so much more power.
Yeah, and you got to think that you have to contest this with the boss pushing. If this breaks out into an early fight, although SC stuck very far forward, Archon is in. Jongha gets blinded the instant he dives in. They're going to try and continue the pressure. They're looking to engage, and right now, Tempest, low health bars, Wolf.
Okay, here's the gust again. HA2 gets the drag, does have that adaptation to survive. The Ancestral's not onto Hunkono, it was supposed to be. And now the Sanctification with the extra protection. This is going to be a one fight for L5. It's going to be Curse for L5 with the boss still available. They already have the lead in forts, as you can see on the minimap. And Sign looked like he might have wanted to try to sneak the tribute, but it's not going to happen. And L5, with the Curse now available, are going to dive deep here. There's no escape for Hyde.
I was going to say, with no curse available, or with the curse available, you know those towers aren't shooting back at you. A lockdown will use that flight to get out of there.
I'm seeing Hooligan in the player camera. He's into it. He's yelling. He's sharing information, potentially even shot calling here for L5, a team that's been so notably without a shot caller. This is part of the reason why Tempest chose this map. This is the map where you have to make tough decisions. Make the tough decisions. Are we going to double boss here? Where do we head right now? Should we delay this tribute? Should we commit to it? And it looks like, ironically, in this game, it's L5 who are making the tougher decisions faster, despite the lack of shot caller.
Hunkono going down again. Things spiral out of control as L5 taking full advantage of this curse. They've pushed in. They have the camp. They're looking for a keep right now, Wolf. And if they're not careful, if Tempest isn't careful, we've got Illidan. He's about to lock in 16. If he goes that dive, that extra damage, it does apply to the core. He's holding on to it, trying to decide. Does he go Blades of Azzinoth? He does go Blades, capitalizing on his
He wants
attack.
it.
He's going back in, Wolf.
He's going for Hyde here. Again, always targeting the Rhaegar to prevent the cleanse here. Or are they going too far? The curse is not going to affect this core. Avatar keeps Sign alive. He's kiting back towards the keep, aggroing that slow onto Hooligan, but Hyde is so very low. And remember, Jongha is going core here. He is Illidan. This is a comp that can end this game right now. Tyrael looking to get that extra burst to take out SC.
They've got
and
to
it looks
back
like
out,
that's
Wolf.
going to be enough.
They've got to back out. They didn't even get the shields off, but the Dahaka tongue there, locking down the Tyrael, locking down that added level of protection of Wolf. I'm pretty sure it was moments ago, but Sanctification is still up. When you're stunned, obviously you're not casting that. So getting that away from them gives them the wipe, gives them the kill, makes up a little bit of experience.
Yeah, I think it was too low on mana too. You know, there were just a few extra factors, and L5 is just, they wanted to win there. They have a comp that can make it happen, but this actually is a huge advantage for Tempest that they, of course, failed the core rush. Instead of getting a second keep, potentially trying to get 3 keeps with the push that they had there, they only get the mid keep. And now, to neutralize that, Tempest will have to go through a full keep wall, so they're still massively ahead, don't get me wrong, but I feel like L5, had they played this a little bit safer, they'd have an even larger lead than they could have now.
Well, we saw the hero damage numbers, and you talk about safer. L5 dominating in terms of damage. I'm surprised that the kill count is as even as it is, because L5 has been putting the pressure on this game. We've got 23 total kills, but it's basically dead even. And one thing that does help, we talked about the double globals, the biggest thing it helps is it allows you to stay in lane, clear catapults, and the fact that it's mid lane, going to be far easier for Tempest to stay in this game and try and turn this around.
Looks like L5 and Tempest are just going to trade lanes here. Dahaka stayed in the top lane to spot out where they're rotating because they didn't have vision. They had only the Watchtower, which is actually now taken away from them. And you can see in the bottom lane, Tempest does the same. Now that they know that L5 isn't there, they're going to get the safe EXP soak. We're racing to 20 right now. There's more EXP available for the global. There's more EXP available with the extra fort here and catch-up EXP for Tempest. But still, this is going to be very similar to Tombs, where we have this small lull in the game where there's no direct objective. This objective isn't even going to be a curse for Tempest, so they may actually value delaying it to try to catch up in experience. There's a lot of minions available, and they do have the double global.
They're looking to defend passively. They realize they don't have to, but Sign's going in. He's got the heavy impact. He gets the stun down, but Holy Ground's going to come out as well, and on that backside, the Gust has now isolated Zhang Ha. Illidan in all kinds of trouble.
Oh, but the Divine Shield is so good here. Jay-How, is he going to survive? He's still very low. They are going to kite back here. We thought it was going to be the passive defense, but they went hyper-aggressive. And Zhang Ha, of course, just sitting there, had the protection there, was actually not sent on the Gust. This is a huge win for Tempest now, despite the amazing Divine Shield. That aggressive approach was too much for L5 to deal with. Look at the mini-map now. Boss is going to come up soon, but they also have so much soak they can grab with all these waves pushed in. It's safe soak they can get to try to get 20 faster. They're going to have the boss, which is going to march down the keep wall, and they will eventually deal with this mid push. They're going to have the experience point advantage very soon.
L5, they started their boss a little bit late. They should have enough damage to push this out, but remember, we have double global. All right, there's not enough damage on the side of Tempest. Now that we get a closer look, we can see that they're struggling to finish this off, so they're going to trade bosses for now. But remember, next point is Curse Point for Tempest. They win another fight. They get 1 to 2 picks. Wolf, they walk that boss, and they try and end the game.
It's going to be a blue side tribute spawn as well. Luckily for L5, it's towards where they're going to be defending the boss anyways, and the boss in the top lane is going to be more dangerous for Tempest, but they absolutely need this curse. If they're going to play it like this, if they're not going to defend the boss, they need the curse. And L5, more concerned about the boss and curse potential, is going to go ahead and defend this. So curse will be live now. It's going to make defending that top boss so much easier, but they need to get a keep, at least Tempest does, and try to push for 20.
The risk of taking a fight there was the sole purpose that L5 is like, look, the boss will mitigate any of that push in the top lane because the boss isn't affected by curse. Top lane so pushed out, mid lane still has a fort. You fall back, you clear the boss, and then all you have to do is fall back to your keep and defend. But Sign going in, they're looking for a fight. They get the stun. Zhang Ha again on that backside, and now it looks like Tyrael might be going in as well. Sanctification available, but
Gust here while Divine Shield's used, so he's isolated yet again. Tempest with another crazy move here, but does not go down now. Look at Sign's positioning. He's doing so much peel here, so much slows, but the Sank is perfect. Hyde goes down. He will get the Ancestral off. Not on the best target here, even with Curse. I don't know if this is going to be the fight that Tempest wants. The drag, though, onto Hooligan is so good. He's very low on mana. They're about to hit 20. If they get any more picks here, it could be game.
Hankono went down. They're going to continue to put the pressure on. Illidan's not here, though.
Oh,
they get the stun, the lockdown, and Bala goes down. They're turning this fight, Wolf.
Sign is going to look for, he's got 20 now. He's going to look for the extra killer into SDE. The forts come back online. The curse has expired. It looks like Tempest is able to win the fight and secure 21st. But more importantly, they didn't get a single keep. They needed more than the flashy team fight win. They needed more than just the curse. The boss took out the top keep. 2 keeps down as Tempest, so even though they won the battle, they may very well lose the war.
They did, because they lost a keep of their own. That boss continued to push that top lane. They had to commit to the team fight, so now it's 2 keeps down on the side of Tempest. Again, they do have that double global. Lockdown continuing to get more value out of that wingman. Again, he went full W at 4, 7, and 13. You get more strengths, you get more damage, you get more shield. All of that's going to be available to him. So going full into that, and that actually, he put his W onto that Illidan when he dove back line. That's why Illidan went pop in that fight. It goes, evasion doesn't work against that spell dim.
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't, these Divine shields you against the Gust, which is not what you want if suddenly when the Gust wears off, you're the only man standing there. 2 times now we've seen incredible isolation used, and I'm not talking about the Dahaka heroic here, on that Illidan to get the kills. Hunt committed to here. Looks like they just want to group up. They knew that was not going to be their moment to win the fight. But this is risky for Tempest. If they lose a fight here, they lose the game straight up. L5 has a lot more wiggle room because they have the keep advantage.
Occasionally, we'll see Bolt picked up by Illidan. That way you have that safety net of, like, something went wrong here, I need to bolt out of there. And that's actually happened multiple times. But a lot of times, we'll also see nowhere to hide, especially if you're the one with catapult advantage, if you want to try and backdoor the core. But he went Blades of Azeroth at 16, as opposed to that extra dive damage for repeated dives. So you don't necessarily have that backdoor potential. And think about today one. Zhang He actually got caught out on Sky Temple trying that exact strategy, and it ended up costing them pretty significantly. So a change of the build here due to a lot of circumstances over these last few days in this game.
Think about, too, when you get caught with the Divine Shield on yourself because you're the Divine Shield target most of the time, when you get caught in that position with the Gust, you at least have the back out with the Bolt. You can escape there, even if your friend or foe is too far away from you for you to get the dive. L5 is threatening the backdoor here, but they get called out immediately. Tempest sees this, but they are going to get advantage just by pure chance here on the Tribute as we reset now. So this game could go a ways longer if we don't see a team wipe in the next moments. But remember, Tempest is going to need more than a team fight win here because they don't have any keeps. Boss is not spawning for a long time. They just need to make sure that they win fights.
Yeah, they're actually a minute away. I was going to say, we just now finally got to look into that. That's why we didn't know the timer, but that's only a minute away. So that could become a point of contention. You've got the Gust, but on the other side, you've got the Divine Shield, you've got the Holy Ground, you've got all these tools available, and so they might look for that fight, and they're doing it right now. Zhang He, a sign going in, but H82 taking so much damage. He misses the tongue, and Strafe is out, and they recognize they can't take this fight.
Holy Ground,
sign is locked in, Wolf!
Okay, he drops over here with that Dwarf Toss, but he's so incredibly low. Has to use Rewind here. He has another Dwarf Toss. Why isn't he using it? They do see the Ancestral, but here comes the hunt again. This time it's on to hide. Kono is not in the right place, trying to do as much fan damage as he can. This could be the beginning of the end here for Tempest. There's no keeps to hide behind here.
They're going to fall back for Boss, use Boss. We're talking, by the time they start it, it's at the time you start. If you wait, you start at 20 minutes, you get that extra value there, but they have Illidan. Cassia should be back, but they're going to try and wait for this Boss and then push for the game-winning push. It's not about curses. It's about the Boss contention, and right now, Tempest, we have 17 seconds before Gust. Are they willing to commit to defend, or do they think they can defend at the core against an Illidan comp? That is a tough task.
It's a tough ask, but they have tools, right? They have the Gust, which is going to be so useful. They have Rewind, and they do have the heavy impact coming out. So let's see. They're not going to commit to the boss. They're not going to commit to defeating the boss. They're going to try to take a fight before the boss hits core. This is going to be a miracle hold if Tempest is able to pull this off. They have to deal with these catapults first.
The last stand right here. Lockdown continuing to try and get value out of that level 1. Trying to commit anything he possibly can. Helping to defend against the boss. It's going to be cleared up before the boss gets here. But Wolf, they are going to have to... This is it. This is their last hold. L5 trying to even up the series 1-1, and it happens right now.
Okay, we're going to see who's going to be the engagement factor here. It's been signed every time. Going in here onto SC. Here comes the Gust, but it's not going to get the isolation. It's just going to put L5 right where they want to be. It sets up for a perfect sanctification as well. It's not ready for 20 more seconds. Already, picks traded. SC's down, but so is Soy. No more healing here. Lockdown's going to have to rely on those shields. Does Barrel roll away here? More trading, but remember, trading is a win for L5. They've got redemption, and the boss is on the core.
The boss is on the core, the shields are down, and it looks like L5 is going to even up this series in a back-and-forth battle. Wolf, we're talking 35 total kills, and this is about as competitive of a series as you could ask for to start the day.
It certainly is, and it is going to be L5 tying it up now. This is, what a great series we're starting off the morning with, and Trick, I know you've got probably some replays for us and some thoughts on that crazy second game.
Jeez Louise, incredible control from both of our teams. First off, it was definitely a game about supports. On the other side, one, you wanted to kill off that Rhaegar, make sure you couldn't cleanse out that Illidan hunt. Tons of focus coming towards Hyde. On the other side, Uther coming in with those D-shields left and right. Zhang Wall was so close to death many times. But let's go ahead and check out this first fight. This is where one of the supports was focused down. Look at Hyde here on the left. Hunt comes in right away, and he will be dived instantly here, and he will eventually fall. And still, surprisingly, with the aid of Cassia and, of course, that chain ball, they come in and put up a heck of a fight. This is currently a 3v5. They start turning it around, thank you to Sign, and HA2 on the back right, but Kono on the side, taking a lot of pressure here from Zhangwan, but I love the patience. He's waiting for his abilities to come back up before going in for the engage, and eventually starting to get the kills there. Incredible back and forth.
I actually really like that we're seeing L5 target down the Rhaegar every time. With the you know, the W build coming out from Falstad, there's a lot of extra sustain for Tempest, so they're trying to take the longer fight, using the Rhaegar, the Ancestral, those sustains coming out, and you know, in that last fight, it's part of the reason why they won it.
We usually compliment Hyde and his aggression, but I think it actually kind of hurt the team a little bit here. But here's a good spot where it does work. The hunt into the gust. When the hunt's coming in, if you're able to land that gust afterwards, the hunt will go through with the full animation and land on a target. And they tried to get the kill there. Sadly, Illidan is able to get away. L5 coming in with that massive divine shield. Eventually, it cost Uther his life, but you gotta love a support that's always there for you.
You just keep seeing the heals coming out when Hyde isn't picked, because that was the go-to play for L5 with the hunt every time. But when he isn't picked, you see the heals coming out. Sign just repeatedly uses his Dwarf Toss to get stuns, getting multi-man stuns every single time. The heals keep coming out from the Rhaegar, and the Gust usage has been really good. I think this is the first time we've really seen this build from Lockdown. Actually, in Korean play, we almost never see this build, but clearly he prepared it for this situation against the Illidan. And frankly, despite the loss, it looked pretty strong.
Well, we are underway today as the back-and-forth battle continues with L5 and Tempest. But we're going to cut to a short break and be back momentarily.
To bring more hype to HGC this year, you can cheer with